This is an open letter to Elon Musk. This is my second letter. Sorry for taking your time. If at all I'm taking your time, and you are actually do me a favor and listen to these letters. Here is the thing, Mr. Musk, regarding, because you gave an interview and your interesting interview, but your perspective, seeing the world through the prism of pure logic that you're seeing the world, it's a sort of Sheldonian. If you see the Big Bang Theory, it's your solutions to the problems are very Sheldonian. It's sort of like, it's the right solution, of course, but how to get there, that's the thing. Sheldon always has the right solution, but for the solution, 3 blocks of homes may have to be converted to 3 prisons right in the middle of the cities. It's sort of like whoever doesn't agree can join the prison. And that's and you need big prisons for that. The way you're going, separating yourself from the government, saying that the government is standing in our way, or the government is a corporation and it's a very bad run corporation. Yes, of course. And the reason the government is a bad run corporation is that the guy in charge is usually has to be ends up being, in a democracy, if you let money roll, the guy that's standing, the last one standing, is going to be a very extrovert guy with very influential backers. Extrovert guy with very influential backers. So that's you end up with frat boys. That's the mindset of what frat boys are. You see what I'm saying? So to come and say that okay, government is a bad corporation. No, government is needed. You see, the Chinese government have done fine for their people. It's a good governance. There needs to be governance, and but when the governance is badly run, is that when you have gaps, you have wealth gaps. You see, when the government is badly run, you have wealth gaps. Why the government is badly run is because a bunch of extrovert frat boys usually reach the top. People who are very extrovert, outgoing, and wanting to shake 1,000 hands a day, having no issue speaking to 50,000 people. You gotta be very extrovert with very, big cojones to become a, potential candidate in a democracy in which it starts a year after the last one has ended, and it lasts for 3 years, and it's this extravagant dog and pony show. Love it, enjoy it, but it's become entertainment. Let's reduce the number of where the ballots can be collected, and let's see how many of our citizens we can pretend don't exist. Sort of like, you have to come register if you want to vote, and you have to qualify under all these conditions if you want to vote. Well, you're secluding the whole process of voting to a very specific group of people. So that's no longer the definition of democracy, which is ruled by majority. It's the definition of hypocrisy. But that's a whole different can of worms. The whole point is this: that governance needs to be there. Governance needs to be there, and it's good. It can do very good, a lot of good, but governance that has been turned over to businessmen to run, well, businessmen are running a whole lot of nonsensical, smoke and mirror show here, that at the end of the process, you end up with a show pony. A show pony, actor, politician. Reagan. Reagan was an actor who ended up as a politician. Why? Because at really top levels, all you need is a show pony. The lines have already been set in stone beforehand. What's going to happen? Now you need a show pony to sell it. Salesman. Therefore, Mr. Trump, whatever he was or wasn't, he's a good salesman. He sold his message. Now, what his message was, it's a matter of where you sit. Where you sit usually depends on where you stand on things. If you're in the nosebleed section, that's where your stand is. And if you're courtside, that's where your perspective becomes. Instead of, imagine that a basketball arena going sinking into the area where there is a playing area, and make it upside down. You end up with people at the top who have reached the court side, and the people at the bottom can't even watch the game. It's like a hill on top of a hill, and you guys, the very industrialist, brilliant, have reached those apexes. The apex of sitting rimside, but the whole objective of life, which is existence and observance, and hopefully education, it's not even funded. And so, but the war machine is funded very well. We have to protect ourselves, and so you end up with a bunch of paranoid people, paranoid races. The races that have nuclear weapons, those are the most paranoid, most aggressive races. Let's face it, the 5 members of Security Council are the most paranoid, aggressive, smart races. They all reached nuclear technology, while the rest are still playing with their balls. But the point is this: this is the way it has gone. The money has gone this way. And there is very little you can do about it. Because the arms manufacturers are whining and dining the top brass, and the top brass is having their balls sucked on. So they're okay with it. And so when you say, yes, the problem that you're saying, that government is it's not doing a very good job. Of course, it's not doing a very good job. It stopped doing very good job since Nixon. At least before Nixon, there was an attempt at doing a very good job. After Nixon, they became the frat house, who's most popular. Nixon was the last intellectual up there. I don't know if before Nixon, I'm not sure how many intellectuals were there, but it was a seat of intellectuals. At least the seat of government was a seat of intellectuals. People who, for good or worse, they were at least intellectuals. But now with democracy 2.0, 2.22, you're in a very extended process of advertisement and the whole news gamut. the kind of news gamut that you really don't care what was going on in 1984. How many people knows what was going on in the political theater in 1984? Not many people do, but some do. But the point is, it's not important for these shows and these game shows that they call election. It's not important for the result. Apparently, it has become hazardous to the result because intellectuals don't want to go through. They can't go through the three rings extrovert extravaganza of election process. That you got to be ready enough, have enough cojones to talk in front of 50,000 people every day. Imagine every week you have to have a bigger number of people to talk to bring together. So the guy at the center, the least you know about him is he's very extrovert. And the extrovert people are not real, they weren't the A students, they were the C students. They were there, but it's just their extracurricular activity has always was the main reason of their participation. The main reason of participation was not education. So even if they do have some kind of education, it's going to be very rudimentary. So these guys are the guys who ever in any kind of these extravaganza, only the very extroverts end up being. And these guys are usually not well read. Extremely extrovert people don't have time to read. Just go out. So yes, corporations are run by very intelligent introverts like yourself, but government has ended this dog and pony show that they're running is causing the government to be run by a very extrovert frat boy. The frat house leader ends up, being part of this dog and pony show. The leader, the winner of this dog and pony show. So at least they're extrovert. Even if any slightest whiff of intellectualism, like Hillary Clinton, gets rejected in favor of the frat boy. It was could be predicted. I mean, it was so the stench was so bad. But what are you going to do? This is what allowing money to get involved in political process will end up forming a dog and pony show. And at the end, you only get the candidates that are representatives of rich people's interest. Every time you end up with because the rich people are the ones who are paying for this fucking dog and pony show, so they're damn sure going to get their interest protected because they're paying for the show. Well, there is a choice. You can say, okay, we don't need a show. If all political ads are banned, is what it means is we are going all political ads, radio, television, internet, no political ads. You have, these newspapers you can go and talk to. That's about it. No political ads. Why do you need to advertise something? If you're advertising something, it's because obviously there's no need for it. So you're advertising. You're trying to create a need for it. Hey, this does this does that. You're advertising, you're creating the need by your advertisement. So many times it's like you do know there is a need, but at least advertisement, comes and puts it in front of you that this can be done better. So there is this is nothing bad against advertisement. Advertisement is good in a way. It becomes, corporations, try to inform people better about their health and their, well-being. That's that's not bad. What measures they can take for health and well-being. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. The bad thing would be, you know, this system that you believe that no, that they're doing the wrong way thing. Yes, there's a necessity for government. Yes, they're not doing a good job. And yes, but there is a need for government. You just have to pick a kind of election process that would not cause this job to be so extrovert oriented or uninformed oriented. Extrovert people, again, love you people, but you guys are not, well read, don't have time to. Frat boys are not, known for being A students. So because the whole process is not grooming an A student, it's not enticing to an A student. The whole process is very enticing to a C student. Frat boy C student, but the extrovert part has to be there. That's the base of it. So you end up with these people in the governance that are very extrovert and very, well-meaning, but for themselves and their friends most of the time. not well-meaning to all. And we have seen evidence of that. Mr. Musk, unless you have a date in mind that you need to be off this planet, that's great. But you do understand that the bee colony has to be in a stable form in order for you to take off. You can't, you can't run this bitch to the ground and put it aside, wet. You can't do that. It's not kosher. So the point is this. Yes, capital, and your whole notion of the government, that says it's a bad corporation because it's not making profits. I mean, the government is. Here's the thing, Mr. If tomorrow morning one of your employees, Mr. Musk, if tomorrow morning one of your employees gets hit by a car, whether you have an insurance, you provide an insurance, for them or not, at the end of the day, the one who is supposed to catch this guy that has been hit with a car, and at the end of the day, it's about with the government. If that guy becomes, drunk and not be able to take care of themselves and keep, losing their keys, who catches the guy? The government, yeah, it's a big corporation, but it's a corporation that's supposed to catch all the unwanted. If people were wanted, they were working for the corporation and making money for the corporation. Obviously, but you do think there are fallouts from this, privilege tree. There are fallouts. There are, soldiers on the ground that are, maybe they don't have the kind of skills that you are looking for to provide to you, just because they haven't been built better. They should be let rust. You can do that, but I mean, when you say progress, you must mean, emotional progress as well. You must include emotional progress as well. You can't say, oh no, we advanced to such degree that we, people are living like rats. You see them down there? They're living like rats. If you can do that, not you personally, I'm talking about other rich people. If you can do that and not feel bad about it, then you need an emotion. You need an assistant with high emotional capacity, emotional aptitude to, tell you that, oh, dude, back off. Our people are going to think this, and that by what you're saying, and they're not going to be very happy. I mean, then when people don't get happy because the way you're talking to them, or you're trying to run them, then you have disturbances. January 6th is an example of that. I'm not taking their sides, or I'm not taking any side. It's just that you got to pay a little more attention to what's going on down there. This whole idea of enjoying to watch people down, how people down there live, that gets to become a little too much, and that bit gets to become a little too much, and people down there might storm the palace in Versailles. But the point is this is that point. You gotta somehow make peace with the hive, not keep pointing at the hive and say, oh, I'm sorry for you, but no soup for you. You can do that, but if you had an emotional, if you had to look at somebody in the eye who is from who's from that background every day, if you had to look him in the eye from that background, Kanye is a good pick. If the objective is to hear from him what the street is, but I don't think you have much better options. Intellectual black folks who haven't, the money is not on their mind. Let's put it this way: a black Chomsky would be a black Chomsky, not a Al Sharpton kind of guy, but an intellectual black woman on your side as an assistant, who you had to look at, who would be present in the room every time you spoke, because he's your personal assistant, personal emotional assistant. If she was in the room every time you had to make a decision, and you looked her in the eye and you say, I cannot. She has, my conscience is standing there. Let's just say, when you look at her, you are reminded of your conscience, and then you speak. So she should be always be in your view side. If she can always be on your view side, then it's what you would consider as emotional support person, emotional support assistant. And most of the CEOs if we're going to have a tomorrow, on this planet together, we don't blow ourselves up. If that is the objective, the board of directors needs to be half woman, and all the CEOs need some intellectual from the ranks at the bottom of the pyramid, who has risen up due to their intellect, but still they have the roots down there, and then not a Condoleezza Rice kind of person. Again, Amarosa is what I guess what the pink skins think is a representative. No, somebody, some intellectual black women leader would be a good person to have in the room every time you make a decision. So you would have them in your frame of eye Every time you had to make a decision somewhere in the frame, so your decision would, whatever you say, whatever you think, you would have your conscience in the room. This is a representative of the oppressed, and nobody can represent the oppressed more than intellectual brown or black women, because these guys have been traditionally both women and a minority in a white male dominated run society. These guys have been, these guys have been wronged twice. So they know what it means from being from where they are. If they are intellectual enough to have kept their roots, in touch with their roots, haven't gone all, house on us. Cornel West could be one. I mean, you or one of his, a lady who's a follower of him or who's a student of him can become, an emotional assistant kind of deal for you in the room. Everywhere you make a decision, every time you want to give an interview, you have to understand what the other side is thinking. And how would you get that beside that if you have daily frank conversation with one of the people from there who still has roots there, who still is full contact with the roots, projects. So this kind of daily conversation with somebody from there, this give and take conversation would make you understand, in a way, a better leader. It would make you a better leader. You see what I'm saying? It would make you a better leader because, good leaders are not those who run fastest. Good leaders are the ones who can run longest. No slash and burning here. Yes, we all want to get out of this planet. Yes, we want to, not have to breathe polluted air. Yes, we all are on board with that. But we are all on board with that. But you got to have the conscience in the room. One of the people who have been wronged for centuries now should be in the room every time you make a decision, every time to bounce off ideas for a couple of hours a day at least, and to talk. It will give you a better concept of where to put your next step, your next foot, where to put your next foot, the way that not too many people get hurt. If that means universal basic income, I guess you should be proponent of that and say, okay, yeah, you guys are not doing a very efficient job as the way I expect you to be doing. Okay, you sit at home, we give it to the computer, but we will send you a check. You sit home, we give it to the fucking thing to the computer to do, but we will send you the check. That's you're transferring productivity from the producers who are now automated robots. You have to transfer this productivity to in some kind of equitable degree between the populace. This added productivity is producing, but it's not being distributed proportionally between the people who are creating this productivity. Yes, they're not all creating. Yes, we all know that. But in a society, some people are physically have physical aptitudes, some people have emotional aptitudes, some people have cognitive aptitudes. As I said, you can't just say, just because, okay, we can give it to the robots to do, we're going to keep we're going to have the robots make them, then we're going to sell it to you people, and we're going to collect the money, but you don't have anything to do because we gave it to the robots. Sort of like, well, where are they going to get the money to have a need for your production? Or from where? Because you don't have a job for them, so they become more and more reliant on the government. Somebody has to feed them, and the government is has become sometimes the government is selling. The government is actually selling to the people that the government is their pimp that is going to collect some money from you guys for them. But the government is failing their pimping. They're actually working on the behalf of the client, which have become the rich people. So you end up with these governments, these psychopaths, these people who have two sides. On one side, they're telling the people that we are working for you, but on the other side, they are, working for the corporate. In reality, they're working for the corporation, because the corporations is the ones who are actually, helping to fund this continuous circus of advertisements and shows. So here's the thing, Mr. Musk. The solution to this kind of, run amok democracy is that say no money in politics, sort of like zero tolerance for any kind of money into politics. Zero tolerance. No money. Here's $100,000 to you and $100,000 to you, and you have to make do with this and only this for your campaign. You're running for president, here's $100,000. If you're running for Senate, here's $50,000. If you're running for the House, here's $20,000. You have no funds. No money shall come to you. That's how you choose leaders. Because at that position, then there is no need for any extroverts. Very intelligent people will apply for that job. Very intelligent, and because they're not extroverts. Because no intelligent, 99.999% of very intelligent people are not show ponies. They don't like the spotlight. So you have to change your system from an advertising system, an extravagant system, to a very small, humble service of election. If you can bring it to down that level, and just provide the written material that, okay, if this leader gets just a pamphlet is enough. That a pamphlet, just one pamphlet, set up pamphlet going to every house. That should be every resident, every citizen of the land will get 2 pamphlets in the mail together on the same night every year. Read the pamphlet. Pamphlet A says this party says we're going to do this, period. Nothing more, nothing less during the next 4 years. Come rain or shine. And party red says this is we're going to do this, and come rain or shine. And if you're a citizen of this land, you can go ahead and vote. You're registered at birth. There's no need for secondary or tertiary registration. There is no need to, jump through 6 hoops to be able to vote. If you, can prove residentship or long-term residentship, or if you're a citizen, okay, fine. If we approve of you. When you say when you're a citizen or a non-citizen, is that The difference is that we, whether we approve of your existence on this land. That's the only difference. And who is we? We is a structure left by the pink-skinned Europeans on the continent of North America, and mostly in South America and Central America as well. This is a pink-skin structure set up by the pink-skins many centuries ago, and for the purpose of running the thing that would actually work under the structure. So the whole structure is, and still there is 70-80% of European descent, because to North America, even now, traveling between Europe and North America is without restriction. You just go, show up, here's a ticket. You're going from London to New York. You don't get a visa from London to New York. You don't need a visa for that, but you need a visa to go from Mombasa to New York. Why you think that is? That means sort of like they're still inviting more people from Europe to, immigrate more easily by just buying a ticket. Hey, buy a ticket, come on over. If it works out over there, why not stay? No problem. Same thing with Australia, same thing with New Zealand. Anybody who has, who is a resident of any of these places that they are pink-skin structured, have free access to others' land, but the brown and people do not have access, and they're sort of like they waited and so you come over here, you take our gold. I'm talking about people of Congo. So you come over here for a long time, you take our gold and some other stuff that we had laying around on land here. You took them over there to your country, and you made stuff out of them, and you became wealthy by selling those stuff back to us. And now you have left, and now we don't have access to your land. Sort of like you have taken the wealth, whatever kind of capital that wealth was able to produce is based on the wealth that was found on the land. Yes, they were not so forward to have factories and have thought of that, but again, we are back at more cognitive aptitude, more emotional aptitude, more physical aptitude. People are built differently, like it or not. Races are built differently. Some have more cognitive aptitude, some have more physical aptitude, some have more emotional aptitude. Every man is a percentage of each one of these. But you cannot do and say, stand up there and talk to people that are built differently and tell them, why aren't you pulling your weight? Why is the government taking from my pocket, putting it in your pocket? Well, you have automated your factories. These automated machines are having a kind of productivity, creating a kind of wealth. This productivity, forget about the wealth. This productivity of the machines should not become more your wealth. The higher productivity of the machines should be distributed between the people. The machines have become more productive. Great. Much less physical work or more and more cognitive work is necessary by the people. The machines are doing it. But there is just one thing. You have to justly try to distribute the productivity of that these machines are producing. The productivity of these machines have to be somehow equitably distributed between the people, so people can also eat. So yes, stop all the wars. There is no need for 800 military bases around the world. Stop all wars. And whatever money you have to invest back in your society. No war, no more wars. You take this money and you invest it in your societies. Make your societies better. So that means UBI, Universal Basic Income. You send out a check and say, okay, these machines have been such good boys, they have been producing very well. There is no more need for labor. Here is some of the we keep some of the productivity of these machines as our wealth, and we distribute the rest of it between people. Those people who have just been, knocked out of this business. I mean, you're running low on truck drivers because they all left, because you and other corporations that are working on self-driving trucks. Okay, if I was trucking and I was listening to this on the radio, which is what truckers do all day long, I would be looking for, the next line of work before they ask me to go home. I'm gonna, jump ship and find somewhere to land. So, universal basic income. Just send him the check and say, yeah, sorry, man, and say it. Tell them on TV that, hey, truck drivers, if you can't find work, you don't leave your jobs yet, because for 5 years after you have left trucking business, we will give you universal basic income. So until you can land on your feet and find something else to do. But nobody has done that. Sort of like they know their jobs are going to become obsolete, and they've jumped ship and they try to land on their feet because there is no guarantees by the system, by the government, that we just don't care. Better land on your feet. Good luck. So that's why the issue with shortage of truck drivers. This could be one reason. So new people just don't come in. New people they're seeing it on their TV that driving is becoming automation. No question about it. Okay, so professional drivers are gonna jump ship. So the whole thing is, yes, stop the wars and start the UBI. Stop the wars. Stop paying for unnecessary shit, and unnecessary, harmful people of a planet are bombing each other's places. A waste of fucking money. A waste of fucking money as I ever seen. They're just, imagine from outer space looking down and seeing that these motherfuckers, they're still blowing each other up. And you're the biggest, the pink skin land is the biggest producers of arms. In general, the 5 members of the Security Council are the 5 biggest arms producers in the world. And that's the whole question with the Iranians. The thing is they do not accept Iran to be an arms producer or arms exporter. They don't accept that. It's sort of no nuclear power, no arms, no sophisticated arms. Not for you. Why? Because they're brown skin? Because this is a race thing, Mr. Elon Musk. This is a race thing. You see, of the 5 members of Security Council that are 5 legitimate nuclear powers of the world, of the 5, 4 are pink skin. One is yellow. They haven't even recognized the rest of the planet as existing, as important enough. If you're not important enough, you cannot have production of arms, sales of arms. Fuck you. Okay, fine. Don't let them do it, but why are you doing it? Why is the 5 members of Security Council are the ones with the highest production of weapons continuously? Well, fuck, you had nuclear weapons and you could have blown each other apart, and you could have made Earth hazmat for a couple of 100 years at least. And you see, it didn't work out. It didn't make sense at the end. but still you're fighting over influence. They're Mr. Musk, they're still fighting over influence on this planet. They are still fighting over more influence on this planet. Now you got the influence all by yourself, sort of like, good for you. But what you can do is, don't go Borg on us, King Borg on us. Go a little easy and become a sort of a malevolent leader and say, okay, yeah, stop the wars. We and my rich friends who own this fucking three-ring circus, we agree that we shouldn't put money towards wars. It's an unproductive act. So stop warring. If the locals want to get into any shit over there, let them get into any shit they want. They're locals. Without you selling arms to them. You should spend the money in arms. You should spend that money into space. Go to space. Exactly what you're doing. I love what you're doing. We all love what you're doing. But so UBI, no wars, and UBI. That would be the ideal solution. And if you had an intellectual in charge of this corporation, which is the government, that would have been the conclusion that the person would have reached. Would have sat down with the likes of you, come to have some sort of agreement that you guys, who are the main beneficiaries of this great productivity of automation, you should, share that productivity with the people who used to man those machines before. Now they're not, that's needed. So this just, you have to give much of this added productivity back to the people so they can live. And that's UBI. But again, the same person would decide that, okay, before we go in depth, maybe we should close all the bases, all the military bases, all the, we have Coast Guard, Uncle Sam, love Uncle Sam, we love you, Uncle Sam, but you have Coast Guards in the Persian Gulf. United States Coast Guard is present in the Persian Gulf. My question is, why make such thing necessary? Maybe they're necessary. Maybe it's a necessity. Maybe. But the question is, why is it a necessity? What are these necessities? Is it because Kuwait is, taking all the money they made in oil, they're putting it because Kuwait must be protected, because all the money they're making they're putting it in BlackRock. So Kuwait is making all this money, they're putting it in BlackRock. So Kuwait needs to be protected. Kuwait needs to be protected by US Coast Guard. Okay, Kuwait, that makes sense. But why is that Kuwait is not investing in that area, like in Iraq? Why is not Kuwait investing in, Iraq? Mainly Iraq. Kuwait is Iraq. Iraq is Kuwait. It's like before the British come in, that's Kuwait. That Kuwait part was their only way the Iraqis had access to warm waters before the British came. So the British came sort of like cut the tip off Iraq's penis. Iraq does not have access. Iraq, one of the oldest civilizations in the world, people of that bloodline do not have access to warm waters of the world because there is a Kuwait in front of them, between them and Persian Gulf. Does that make sense to you? And then Kuwait has to invest their money in New York, in BlackRock. So the money that these guys are making from this land is being transferred to that land, and the people of that area, they have to fight in each other for the pleasure of the pink skins. You sell arms to this side, and you sell arms to that side, and you sell arms to this side, and you sell arms to that side, and you just sit and wait and ponder what would it be if all these arms were used and then they needed more. Oh goody, this is what arms business has become on earth. And this whole aggressive behavior towards each other. The question is, why is it that why this animosity, or why this aggressiveness, why this animosity with China? What did the Chinese do? The Chinese did the jobs for less. The capitalists came and used them to do the jobs that they wanted for less. Nothing is more honorable than working, and the Chinese worked their bones off. They worked and they built. What is wrong with that? Communist Party, they're electing intellectuals. Who are you electing? Here's the thing. No, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Sorry. They're selecting intellectuals. Who are you electing? You see, the elected leader becomes Mr. Trump. I am forever in debt to him. Great man. Just look up to him every day. But that's just I'm not sure why did they laughed at him in United Nations. Not sure. Basically, what Trump did in United Nations was basically like a frat boy went and thumbed his nose at United Nations and said, "I don't give a fuck about all you motherfuckers. I have done this for America." And he did it on purpose. I have a feeling he has that kind of street smarts, that he did it. He prepared a speech to, tell the rest of the motherfuckers on this planet that what he has done for America. Love you, man. Love you. Great speech. But that's the thing. You get a frat boy as the leader, and then the whole idea, and the next one and the previous one it's a frat boys. None of these people are intellectuals. None of them were intellectuals. None of them are because nobody with any kind of intellect reaches that kind of is willing to do that kind of live that kind of extrovert lifestyle of always being in the spotlight and always being under the microscope and always it's just not possible. So they're not intellectuals. So they make wrong decisions. They go to wars. They think they have to hold the whole fucking thing down, lock it down by force. Where actually by tourism, I mean, you can. If the idea is spreading democracy and spreading our influence around the world, why not do it with tourists? Why not pay your people enough universal basic income from the added productivity of the machines? Why give more of this to your people so they can go and spread democracy as tourists? Go and spread democracy as tourists. It's a great idea. Just pay you, but you gotta pay your people enough to go and not become soldiers. Not having to become soldiers, they would become tourists because somebody is paying for them to live, so they might as well live abroad. If you can do that, then you can peddle your form of government as a lot better by word of mouth through tourists, which is much human friendly, much less bloodshed involved. If you can spread your message through tourism, why would you want to spread your message through violence? If democracy is what you want, spread it through tourists. Pay your people enough so they can actually take your fucking vacation. force them to take a vacation, a paid vacation for every American, three months a year, and you have to go abroad. A paid vacation for every American 4 months a year, paid from Jeff Bezos' pocket, because of the productivity, added productivity of all those robots, gets distributed from Jeff Bezos to the people, the citizens of Uncle Sam, and the citizens of Uncle Sam, based on that UBI, are forced to take a 4 month forced vacation, 3 months forced vacation, but they have to leave America. They have to go live somewhere else. Get a different experience in life. Learn from the locals and teach the locals democracy if you're very happy with democracy, and tell them about democracy. Don't shoot at them. You can't fucking, you can not only produce a bigger mess whenever you start shooting. The end result of shooting is never a good thing. You live a big mess. Whether this shooting, as you said, is by governments through having sole right to violence, and start shooting on the other side of the planet some fucking local shit, Fallujah. The point is this. The point is that because frat boys are in charge, Mr. Dick Cheney was a lineman. He was a lineman because putting up electric lines in Wyoming is, a very... They pay you a lot of money because it's a very tough job, it's tough hours, a lot of physical activity. So nothing bad about the linemen. Love the working man. But the point is this. A person who pursues such a task in society is usually not a great thinker. Wants to eat more, wants to have more stuff around, so he goes and finds the highest paying job so he can have more stuff around. Well, that is the guy who reaches the vice president of the United States, and before that he held so many high posts. So you don't have an intellectual in Mr. Cheney, you have a frat boy. A guy who went to a job that from its money he could drink the most beers and bang the most women. So that has reached the post of the vice presidency. The highest post he reached was the vice presidency. And you'd think, frat boy? Clinton, frat boy? Trump, frat boy? Obama, black frat boy. At least the black part is recognized. Also, his wife had a lot of influence, so sorority, black sorority as well, representative of black sorority as well, but but before that, Reagan, frat boy, an actor, a baseball manager, an actor, a showman, a salesman, ex-showman becomes president, ex-salesman becomes president. Are you serious? Ukraine, you have an ex-comedian, a current comedian, and current actor becoming president. Why? Because some rich people actually decided that he should run as president. He should run as a president. He looks good on TV. Oh, fuck you. This is the kind of democracy that the system brings. The system, suddenly rich people start deciding who is a good candidate. The guy is an actor. He's not a real intellectual of his people. Anyway, Mr. Musk, the point is this, sir. Yes, stop the wars, but you do understand that yes, go to the moon, go to the Mars, love you, great cars, all of that, but love everything you do. But regarding the people, you be the bearer of the torch for your cohorts and go to the government and say, okay, we are okay with universal basic income. You want to call it tax? We are okay with universal basic income to these people. We are okay with that as the rich people who are supposed to hand over this added productivity to the government, to the people, through the government. You see, the rich people have to hand over the added productivity of these automation revolution, hand over this most of this productivity that is been added by the machines. The rich people have to hand it to the government so the government can hand it back to the people so they can live on. So universal basic income. If you go for that, you tell, but then you put a condition. Exactly as you did. You put a condition and say, you stop, but we don't want U.S. Coast Guard in on the other side of the planet, because we don't want to create new wars. We don't want to be involved in any new wars. No more, we have a territory and that's about it. And we will not have any offensive wars, period. This is a good start. Give the money to the government so they can distribute it between the people as UBI and healthcare and all of that. But put a condition on it and say, but you have to stop these military, there is too much money going into military. Stop, because it's a lot of waste. Everything blows up, and waste of human productivity which was on the ground, and waste of human productivity which blew it to the sky. Both of which are wasted productivity.